This is the one living creature even Elon Musk can't buy. A man who bought Twitter, launched rockets to Mars, and built the world's most valuable car company can't touch this organism. It's not protected by lawyers or politics. It's protected by something far older and far more ruthless. Because this isn't just the most expensive creature on Earth, it's also the rarest, most hunted, and most genetically irreplaceable species in history. But to understand why not even Musk can get close, we need to count down the 10 most valuable creatures on the planet, starting with a blue diamond that bleeds.
Welcome to Prime Rankings. We bring you the most unforgettable moments from game shows and reality TV, where tension and excitement are at their peak. Plus, we also dive into the world of luxury, ranking the most expensive items and revealing the lifestyles of the rich and famous. So if you love luxury lifestyles and jaw-dropping TV moments, make sure to hit that subscribe. Now, let's get back to the video.
10. Blue lobster, $500,000. It started like any other fishing run. Weathered boat, cold Atlantic wind, and a baited trap pulled from the ocean floor near Maine. But inside that trap wasn't dinner. It was a glitch in evolution. Bright electric blue, not dark, not murky, glowing. A lobster so rare scientists estimated the odds of its existence at 1 in 2 million. The color came from a rare genetic mutation that causes the crustacean to overproduce a particular protein, warping how its shell reflects light. But to the fisherman who pulled it from the water, it didn't matter what caused it. He was holding $500,000. News spread within hours. Marine institutes made calls. Aquariums launched bidding wars. One private collector in Asia reportedly offered $500,000 for the creature, alive. But then came the problem. No one could agree if it was even legal to sell. Officials were worried it wouldn't survive transport. Biologists pushed for conservation. And the fisherman, caught in the middle, watched his once-in-a-lifetime payday disappear behind layers of red tape. Eventually, the lobster was handed off to a secure marine facility, placed in a climate-controlled tank and locked behind double-layered glass. Cameras watch it 24/7. Nobody touches it. It's not food. It's not a pet. It's a living museum piece, possibly the only one of its kind. But here's the part no one says out loud. It's harmless. The blue lobster doesn't kill, it doesn't defend anything. It won't break through a fence or end up in a dictator's collection. It doesn't require guards, weapons, or secrecy. It's rare, but it's not dangerous. And in the world of ultra-wealth and living assets, that matters more than anything. Because rarity might get you headlines, but danger? Danger gets you power. And the next creature on this list, it doesn't just cost more than a house, it's been bred to defend them. 9. Tibetan Mastiff, $1.9 million. It looks like a lion, weighs more than a grown man, and once guarded emperors in the Himalayas. But today, it sleeps on silk sheets, eats Wagyu beef, and rides shotgun in Bentleys. This is the Tibetan Mastiff, the most expensive dog on Earth. With a mane like a predator and the size of a small bear, this isn't a lapdog. It's a genetic relic, bred for altitude, trained for war, and built to intimidate. Its bark can rupture eardrums. Its bite pressure rivals that of a tiger, and in China, during the luxury boom of the early 2000s and 10s, it became the most elite status symbol money could buy. Billionaires started collecting them the way Americans collect watches. The rarer the coat, the higher the price. And if it was red, a color symbolizing prosperity in Chinese culture, it could fetch insane numbers. In 2014, one red Tibetan Mastiff was sold for nearly $2 million. The buyer, a property developer who arrived with a private convoy. The dog was loaded into a Bentley. It came with its own bodyguards. It never walked through dirt again. Owners installed velvet flooring in kennels. Some spent more on grooming than security. Others claimed their dogs were descendants of imperial bloodlines, rumors impossible to prove, but great for driving up price. But the market didn't last. As quickly as it rose, it collapsed. When the Chinese government cracked down on excessive displays of wealth, prices dropped. Some breeders were forced to close down. But the myth of the million-dollar Mastiff didn't die. It just went underground, into private estates, guarded compounds, and luxury farms where price tags are no longer disclosed. Because these aren't just pets, they're trophies, they're protectors, and for a brief moment in history, they were worth more than a Ferrari. But even at their peak, Tibetan Mastiffs still had one thing in common with every other dog: loyalty. They bond with their owners, they respond to commands, they protect on instinct. The next creature, it doesn't care who owns it, it doesn't follow orders, and it was once traded for the price of a jet. 8. White Arabian horse, $3 million plus. This isn't just a horse, it's living nobility. The White Arabian is the crown jewel of equine bloodlines, traced back centuries through desert warfare, royal caravans, and tribal dynasties. With its curved neck, sculpted head, and glowing ivory coat, it's a creature so rare that kings once traded land just to possess one. But in the 21st century, the market has changed. It's no longer about conquest, it's about perfection. And perfection has a price. Across Dubai, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, elite breeders compete in silence, pouring millions into stables with climate control, round-the-clock handlers, and biometric surveillance. The goal? Genetic dominance. A single purebred stallion can now fetch upwards of $3 million, not for racing, not for riding, but for something far more valuable: breeding rights. At the top levels, these horses don't compete. They're collected, traded behind closed doors, flown across continents in custom crates. They receive spa treatments, eat organic diets, and are often insured for more than the private jets that carry them. The white coat isn't just aesthetic, it's symbolic. It signifies purity, wealth, and legacy. Buyers don't just want the animal, they want the bloodline. The right stallion, matched with the right mare, can create a genetic heir worth tens of millions over a decade. Entire dynasties are built around a single horse. But even in this world of silks, show rings, and gold-stitched saddles, there's still a hard truth. These creatures are built for display. Revered, yes. Worshipped even, but never weaponized. Because beauty may be valuable, but fear rewrites the price tag. And the next creature on this list, it's no showpiece. It's not trained, tamed, or polished for auction. It's bred to kill on contact, gram by gram. 7. Poison dart frog, $5,000 per gram. It fits in the palm of your hand. It glows like it came from an alien jungle, and if it touches your bloodstream, it can stop your heart in seconds. This is the poison dart frog, nature's most efficient assassin. Found deep in the rainforests of Central and South America, these frogs earned their name the hard way. Tribal hunters coated blow darts in their skin secretions to bring down enemies and animals alike. No teeth, no venom, just contact and collapse. But what makes this creature terrifying also makes it invaluable. Inside its skin lies a cocktail of complex alkaloids, compounds so potent they've become the focus of some of the world's most advanced pharmaceutical research. Neurologists, pain scientists, and military contractors alike all want the same thing: controlled access to a natural chemical that can shut down nerve signals without damaging tissue. In the right lab, 1 gram of secretion from the Phyllobates terribilis, arguably the deadliest species, can be worth over $5,000. And that's not even the market cap. Due to ethical restrictions, these frogs can't be harvested en masse. Controlled breeding is limited, extraction is delicate, and accidental exposure, fatal. Some labs keep them under lockdown in triple-sealed enclosures, others synthesize analogues, but nothing replicates the original perfectly. The frog's biology is too unique, too unstable, too alive. In black markets, the price is even higher. Rumors persist of military buyers seeking skin samples for tranquilizer tech. Others claim rogue biochemists have tried weaponizing the alkaloids in aerosol form. Most of it is speculation, all of it is deadly. But there's an irony in all this, because while the poison dart frog can kill with a touch, it still exists. It still reproduces. It still hops through the undergrowth of a dozen nations. The next creature, it can't even breathe anymore. It's been gone for centuries, and yet its unborn child is now worth more than a Manhattan apartment. 6. Northern bald ibis egg, value $50,000 plus, non-commercial. It looks like an awkward buzzard with a bad haircut, but to conservationists, this bird is a biological relic worth more than gold. The northern bald ibis once soared across Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa in the thousands. It was sacred to the ancient Egyptians, hunted by medieval falconers, and sketched into Gothic manuscripts. Then it vanished. Poaching, power lines, poisoned water. By the year 2000, fewer than 500 were left on the planet. Today, it's one of the rarest birds alive, and its eggs? Practically state secrets. Under modern conservation programs, every northern bald ibis egg is genetically logged, temperature monitored, and guarded under 24-hour surveillance. They're not sold, not traded. not even touched without permits from at least 3 different international wildlife bodies. Why? Because each egg represents the possibility, however fragile, that the species might survive. And yet, in 2019, one of those eggs disappeared. During a quiet breeding season in Austria, a fertilized ibis egg went missing from a protected nesting site. No sign of forced entry, no broken shell, just gone. Within days, Interpol and wildlife agencies launched a covert investigation stretching across 5 countries. Security footage was scrubbed, customs scans were reviewed, the entire egg trade, legal and illegal, was put on alert. The case was never officially solved, but experts estimate that on the black market, a viable northern bald ibis egg, capable of producing a purebred chick, could fetch upwards of $50,000. Not for food, not for display, but for genetic exclusivity, something private collectors and exotic breeders will quietly risk jail time to obtain. Some say the egg was smuggled to a private aviary in Qatar. Others believe it was a targeted theft by a rogue conservationist trying to diversify the gene pool. Either way, the theft made one thing clear. When something becomes too rare to replace, it stops being just biological and starts becoming political. And that brings us to the next creature, because unlike the ibis, this animal doesn't live in the shadows. It lives in palaces, it rides on presidential planes, and its mere presence can reshape global alliances. 5. Giant panda. Diplomatic value $10 to $50 million per bear. They wobble when they walk, they sneeze like toddlers, and they break the internet every time they roll down a hill. But don't let the fluff fool you. Giant pandas are not pets, they're political leverage. Despite being bred in zoos, raised on bamboo and adored by millions, every panda in the world technically belongs to one country, China. That includes the ones in Washington, D.C., Edinburgh, and Tokyo. And they're not gifts, they're leases. Giant pandas are classified as national treasures of the People's Republic of China, treated more like living diplomats than animals. Hosting just one of these bears requires a formal agreement between governments, years of negotiations, and a check with a lot of zeros. In 2023, the Smithsonian's National Zoo paid over $50 million in panda diplomacy fees to China just to host a single breeding pair. That figure includes rental fees, habitat upgrades, and a hefty annual donation to China's conservation fund. And when a cub is born, it must be returned to China within 4 years. No exceptions. They come with security teams, Chinese veterinarians, and surveillance clauses buried deep in the contracts. One wrong move, one political disagreement, and the pandas get recalled. It's happened before. In 2019, when relations soured between China and Canada, the Calgary Zoo had to send its pandas back early. The excuse? Bamboo supply issues. But behind the fluff and fanfare lies a deeper strategy. These bears are deployed with the precision of military assets. A panda on lone signals alliance, a panda withdrawn signals tension, and in elite diplomatic circles, who doesn't have a panda has become just as telling as who does. They may chew bamboo and sleep 12 hours a day, but they move global chess pieces. And yet, even pandas aren't watched like this next creature. Because while a panda might live under diplomatic agreement, the animal you're about to meet lives under constant round-the-clock surveillance. It's rare, it's fragile. It can die from a sunburn or a loud noise. And if you want to buy one, you'll need permission from 3 governments, a private jet, and a climate-controlled vault just to keep it alive. 4. Albino alligator, $150,000 to $500,000. It looks like a ghost, moves like a relic, and if you shine a light too bright, it might die on the spot. There are only 15 known albino alligators alive on Earth, and unlike their green prehistoric cousins, these creatures aren't apex predators. They're genetic accidents, so rare and fragile, they require artificial environments just to survive past infancy. Born with a complete lack of melanin, albino alligators are essentially blind, photosensitive, and immune compromised. In the wild, they'd last a week. Maybe. That's why every surviving one lives under strict zoo or sanctuary control, housed in UV-filtered tanks and monitored by specialists 24/7. Their caretakers wear gloves, whisper in hushed tones, and maintain strict routines to reduce stress. Because one wrong fluctuation in temperature or light and the gator dies. They're not just rare, they're high-maintenance liabilities, but that hasn't stopped collectors from trying to get their hands on one. In 2021, an underground deal nearly went through between a US breeder and a Saudi collector, offering a $400,000 bid for a single male specimen. It wasn't rejected because of cost. It was rejected because even transporting one of these animals across borders could kill it. The paperwork alone spans a dozen regulatory agencies, and a custom-built, climate-controlled travel tank must be engineered for the trip. A plane delay or jolt of turbulence could be fatal. To own an albino gator isn't just about wealth, it's about absolute control over an artificial environment. They're one of the only exotic creatures where the purchase price is lower than the cost of keeping it alive. Even in top-tier facilities like the Audubon Zoo in New Orleans, albino alligators are protected like biological artifacts. Cameras monitor them, visitors are kept at a distance, and security teams patrol their enclosures. Because if one dies, the loss isn't just financial, it's genetic extinction. And yet, for all their rarity and fragility, albino gators are solitary animals. They don't form colonies, they don't build hives. But the next creature does. In fact, it doesn't come alone at all. It comes in swarms, armed with royal bloodlines, elite gene editing, and a global market willing to pay 5 figures for a single queen. 3. Queen honeybee, elite genetic line, $5,000 to $10,000 each. Most people think of bees as disposable workers, but in the world of elite apiculture, a single queen can be more valuable than a sports car and far more productive. Elite queen bees are not random hatchlings. They're hand-selected, genetically curated, and field-tested for specific traits: disease resistance, hyper-efficient pollination, and maximum honey production. These queens don't just sustain hives, they build empires. And for industrial honey farms or pollination outfits, the right queen can mean the difference between break-even and 6-figure harvests. It's not uncommon for commercial-grade queens to go for $50 to $200, but that's the bottom shelf. At the top of the pyramid sit royal bloodline queens, bred in isolated valleys in Italy, Hawaii, or Slovenia, places so remote the drones used for mating are genetically monitored, and the airspace is sometimes restricted during peak season. These queens are packaged in hand-stitched mesh chambers, placed inside humidity-controlled tubes, and flown by private courier to apiaries in California, Australia, and the UAE. Why all the effort? Because a single queen can produce over $250,000 worth of honey per year, not to mention her offspring's value in further breeding operations. In 2022, one such queen, bred by an Italian apiarist with 4 decades of genetic records, was sold to a Middle Eastern buyer for $10,200. That queen came with her own passport, an embedded microchip, and a no breeding clause. There are even black markets for stolen queen lines. In 2019, an entire shipment of royal queens was hijacked en route to India. The perpetrators weren't after the bees, they were after the genome. You don't pet these animals, you don't display them, you invest in them like you would rare diamonds or heirloom wine. And unlike gold, these queens reproduce wealth, but for all their commercial value, they're still insects. They buzz, they sting, and they die if handled too roughly. The next animal doesn't die from rough handling, it kills from it. It prowls in zoos and private kingdoms, wearing its rarity like armor and its color like flame. It's not a myth, it's not a statue, and it can cost more than a penthouse in Dubai. 2. Golden tiger, $30,000 to $150,000+. They're not albino, they're not bred in labs, and they're certainly not regular Bengal tigers. Golden tigers, also known as strawberry tigers, are nature's rarest big cats, born with a recessive gene that dilutes their black stripes into ghostly swirls of gold, copper, and cream. There are fewer than 30 alive on the planet. And unlike white tigers, which are now largely products of inbreeding in captivity, golden tigers occur almost exclusively through a double recessive gene, making every birth a biological accident on par with a lunar eclipse. These animals don't end up in petting zoos or roadside attractions. They live in private royal collections, guarded by security cameras, steel fencing, and, on more than one occasion, armed patrols. In the Middle East and Southeast Asia, ownership of a golden tiger isn't just a luxury. It's a status symbol, rivaled only by private jets and oil fields. The price? While publicly documented sales are rare, behind closed doors, breeding rights for a healthy golden tiger pair have reportedly reached 6 figures. In one verified case from 2021, a mature male was traded, not for cash but for a solid gold bar and a bulletproof SUV, in a deal facilitated entirely off record between two Gulf collectors. But even if you had the money, acquiring one isn't as simple as writing a check. The logistics are nearly impossible. CITES permits, international veterinary clearances, secure transport contracts, and political connections are all required. Miss a single form and your pet becomes an international smuggling scandal. There's no room for amateurs in this game. Owning a golden tiger is a full-time operation. They require a team of exotic animal specialists, a custom-designed enclosure, and more meat per week than most third-world villages consume in a month. They don't purr, they don't play fetch, and if you turn your back on them, they remind you what apex predator actually means. But for all their glory, even golden tigers have a price. Elon Musk could buy a zoo of golden tigers, ship albino alligators to Mars, and still have cash left over for panda diplomacy. But even he can't buy what comes next. Because this creature isn't for sale. It isn't bred, bartered, or auctioned. It exists in one location, under one condition, and the cost of approaching it isn't money, it's survival. This isn't a pet. It's a last encounter. 1. Vaquita porpoise. Estimated black market value, infinite, non-purchasable. In a world where almost everything has a price, from cloned polo horses to gold-coated tigers, there is one creature that sits entirely outside the laws of money, ownership and trade. It's not protected by vaults, bodyguards or surveillance satellites, but by the knowledge that its disappearance would be irreversible. This is the vaquita porpoise, the most expensive creature on Earth, not because of what it costs, but because of what it would cost to lose. Found only in the northern part of the Gulf of California, Mexico, the vaquita is the smallest and rarest cetacean in the world. It measures just about 5 feet long, weighs around 100 pounds, and has dark eyes ringed by smudgy black circles, an evolutionary accident that makes it look almost cartoonishly innocent. But behind the gentle features lies a brutal reality. Fewer than 10 vaquitas remain alive. That number isn't speculative, it's confirmed by acoustic monitoring, environmental DNA, and direct sightings. This isn't just an endangered species, it's a biological countdown. In 1997, estimates suggested there were around 600 vaquitas left. By 2015, that number had dropped below 100. Today, as few as 6 remain. Conservationists describe the population as functionally extinct, meaning even if a handful survive, they likely won't recover fast enough to escape collapse. Unlike tigers or elephants, there is no zoo population, no successful breeding program, and no real captivity option. The few attempts to house vaquitas in marine pens have resulted in total failure. One captured female died within hours due to stress. The species isn't just rare, it is physically incapable of being owned. That's why Elon Musk, the man who launched his car into space and publicly toys with colonizing Mars, could never buy one. He could bid on a golden yacht, a chunk of the moon, or even build a private navy. But he couldn't acquire a vaquita without destroying the very thing he sought to own. Because unlike racehorses, pandas, or even cloned sheep, the vaquita doesn't increase in value with scarcity. It becomes worthless the moment it's removed from the sea. The reason for the vaquita's downfall isn't poaching for its own body parts. No one is harvesting its fins or tusks. Instead, it's collateral damage in another black market war. The real culprit is the illegal fishing of a different creature entirely, the totoaba fish. Its swim bladder, considered a delicacy and folk remedy in China, can sell for up to $100,000 per kilogram. To catch totoaba, fishermen lay down large gill nets that trap anything swimming nearby, including the vaquita. In this grotesque twist of fate, the vaquita is dying for a crime it had nothing to do with. Despite a gill net ban in the region, enforcement remains difficult. Mexican authorities, under pressure from both local cartels and economic desperation, have failed to eliminate illegal fishing. Conservation groups like Sea Shepherd have literally taken the fight to the water, patrolling the Gulf of California with anti-poaching vessels, cutting nets in real time, and clashing with armed fishers. At one point, drones, sonar, and Navy patrols were being used just to protect a few remaining individuals. The vaquita's security budget would rival that of some heads of state, if anyone were paying in dollars. But the currency here isn't money, it's survival. No auction house will ever list the vaquita. No collector will ever own one. No billionaire will ever post a photo of one lounging in a private aquarium. Not because they haven't tried, but because they physically can't. The moment a vaquita is moved, it dies. The moment one is killed, the species loses another digit off its genetic clock. The entire species is guarded not by price tags, but by the laws of nature and the thin edge of extinction. In economic terms, that makes the vaquita priceless, not in the sentimental Hallmark card sense of the word, but in the most literal one. It cannot be priced, sold, or legally transferred. It exists in a zone beyond valuation. For economists, that's a nightmare. For conservationists, it's a warning sign blinking in red. If you were to hypothetically capture one, you would trigger an international incident. Mexico has placed it under the highest environmental protections possible. The Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, CITES, has banned all international trade. Any attempt to buy, sell, transport, or even film a vaquita for profit would violate international law, attract criminal penalties, and be universally condemned. It's the biological equivalent of trying to buy the Mona Lisa, except it bleeds, swims, and breathes. That hasn't stopped rumors from surfacing. In 2019, a report surfaced claiming a private collector in Macau had offered $5 million for a live vaquita, an offer that was allegedly rejected without negotiation. Others claim a biotech startup once proposed cloning the species from tissue samples, only to realize they couldn't legally extract genetic material without being prosecuted. Some ideas simply collapse under the weight of their own ethics. Yet despite everything, despite all the nets, all the negligence, all the international dysfunction, vaquitas continue to survive. Not reproduce, not thrive, not multiply, but survive. Barely. And that survival is part of what makes them so staggeringly valuable. Every single living vaquita represents the last of something, the last gene, the last call, the last heartbeat of an evolutionary lineage that took millions of years to form. You can't buy that. You can only protect it or destroy it, and that's what separates the vaquita from every other entry on this list. The blue lobster? Rare but capturable. The golden tiger? Exotic but breedable. The albino alligator? Beautiful but fragile. Even the white Arabian stallion, noble as it is, can be cloned, traded, or gifted. But the vaquita lives on a knife's edge. It can't be owned. It can't be replicated. It can only be left alone. Elon Musk could offer $1 billion in cryptocurrency. It wouldn't matter. No government would allow it. No scientist could sustain it. No aquarium could keep it alive. This isn't a challenge of wealth or technology. It's a challenge of restraint. Because the only way to have a vaquita is to never touch it. So while millionaires argue over genetically perfect dogs and oil sheiks trade tiger cubs for gold bars, the most expensive creature on the planet swims silently through a shrinking strip of Mexican sea, unbought, unseen, and almost entirely forgotten. And in the end, that might be the highest value of all.